So, Maddock, you wrote a poem about horses. Can you give us your poem now?
It wasn't a poem. It was
A soliloquy.
Okay. Well, there was a slave boy who was born in Tennessee sometime before the Civil War, and his master took very good care of him, and he was a very nice man, and he treated him like his own son. He had 3 other sons, but he treated him like another one. And after realizing that this slave boy named Bill Key, was really good with horses, he had an unbelievable bond with these horses. He put him in charge of all these horses of the plantation. Fast forward a couple of years, and it's the Civil War, and Bill is like a young man now, and he fought on the South just because he wanted to help his brothers bring all the slaves from the South to the North. But he was also acting like he was on the North side to spy for the South side, so it was kind of confusing. But he eventually got caught, and he was brought in for treason. He started cooking. He was a really good cook, and so he started cooking for the man in charge. And then he said he's really good at cards. After the war, they let him free, and he had all this money from playing cards because he always won. And he came back to Tennessee, and Tennessee was all run down because of the Civil War. And his master, John Key, he lost all of his plantation and his house, so Bill had to buy it back. Bill also bought all this land, put a bunch of things on it, like a horse racing track, horse hospital, hotels, restaurants, and blacksmith shop. He was so fascinated with horse racing, even though he didn't race. He thought it was a great sport. So he wanted to breed his own unbeatable racehorse. So what he did was he went far south, and he went to a horse bid, and he bought this white Egyptian horse that came from a circus. Since it came from a circus, it was all worn down, and so everybody thought it was funny that he bought this horse, but he knew he would have a special purpose. Then he got permission to borrow a male horse, which was at that time a really good racing horse. They mated, and he bred his own horse, a good race horse, but it came out to be more like a horse you would shoot because it was ugly and it walked weird. But he still kept it, and he worked with it, and he named it Jim Key. And something he learned on while he was working with it, interacted in a special way that he never saw any horse interact before. He interacted with other creatures like he was that creature. He started sleeping with the horse, and he started talking to the horse, and he just like had a real close bond with the horse. And he trained the horse to do special tricks like sit, stay, come, fetch. Once he thought it was ready, he took Jim on the road with him. And at that time, he was a castor oil salesman, and he did really good in his job. One of the biggest things he started out with this horse was he asked him his politics. He kept going through all the politics until he picked the right one. The horse kept saying no until he said the right politic. The crowd thought this was amazing, and they all thought this was great. He kept traveling with his horse. Eventually, he was on the stage. A man from the circus.
Circus McGurkus.
His name was Albert Rogers. And he met up, and he was like, this horse is amazing. Can I buy it? And then he started offering these great prices. And he was like, I sleep with this horse. Obviously, I'm not going to give it to you. And he's like, well, what if we work together? And so they agreed. And at this point, they were making millions and millions of dollars. In 1904, there was the St. Louis World's Fair. And during this time, in 1904, they made a special building just for Jim Key the horse, and it was called Jim Key's Pavilion, and thousands of people came a day just to see this horse. One time, Roosevelt, daughter of the president at that time, came in, and everyone was like, oh, this is amazing, and she sat right in the front. And that same day, there's school kids that were coming in to do a spelling bee against the horse. The horse won, not just because he spelled better than the kids, but he spelled the exact same time as the kids. And that word happened to be Allison Roosevelt.
How did he spell it? With chalk?
They gave him letters, and he put it on the board. He dies in 1909 along with his owner, Bill, at a burial ground in Tennessee where the plantation was. Before they died, where there was like tons of ads, and he was the biggest star during that time. And there was thousands of buttons and medals that went with it. They even made a animal ambulance, and they had like his picture on it. thousands of these kids signed an agreement where they will be kind to all God's creatures just because of this horse.
Did they die together?
They died around the same time, yeah.
It wasn't like they died in an accident or anything.
No, it was just the horse was old and so was him, the owner.
Well, that was some story, and I appreciate you sharing it with us. Well done. Jim Key, the name of the horse was?
Yeah. One of the crazy things, though, it did was it played the organ with its mouth. It also spelled its name and spelled other people's names. And one of the most craziest thing was it stuck its nose in this cup of water to pull out this coin. And then he went for the towel, but his towel was wet, and he got annoyed, and he grabbed his towel and threw it. And he was like, this towel is soiled. I don't want this one. And so that lady thought it was really funny, and she made him a whole bunch of towels with his custom name on it.